Warning, this podcast may contain bad language and content that some listeners may find offensive.
I think some listeners will definitely find this offensive.
I'll make sure of it.
Welcome to Seesaw Podcast.
With your hosts, T, Cleaves and Selina.
Every week bringing some much needed balance and humour to brighten up what can sometimes be a dark, disabled world.
Welcome one and all to Seesaw Podcast, the purple wash of murderousness that is Disability Podcasts. We are back once again with the Renegade Masters, and this week we have something topical for your earballs. But before we go into that, let's do a quick check-in on what people have been doing. Selina.
I've been being ill, but I'm better.
Moving on to Cleaves.
I've been working and failing. T, what have you been doing with your lovely life this lovely week?
Why is it all so condescending? Why can't you be genuine once?
I'm not very good at high energy sincerity.
Well, you're not good at sincerity anyway.
Yeah,
but the high energy shit.
I got the energy part, just not the sincere part.
Well, we're very busy at work.
Awesome. What's the topic for this week?
The topic this week. There's a new government campaign. Have you not heard?
I've heard. Please describe it for me, though.
It is ADA.
But what does that stand for?
I'm glad you asked, Cleaves. ADA stands for Ask, Don't Assume. And this is a disability campaign that is being launched by the government here in the UK. This campaign is all about members of the public asking disabled people their access needs rather than assuming their access needs and then doing things that might be inappropriate.
What you'll see from it is on social media, a lot of it is there'll be people wearing T-shirts with certain slogans on. So, for example, there's a blind person holding a cane and it says, "Don't touch me" on the T-shirt. And
it's actually "Can't touch this," and I believe MC Hammer wouldn't be happy.
The government must have paid for that right, surely.
Yeah, that's probably where the money went.
Or I'm thinking that there's a person with a wheelchair that says, "Don't push this," right? Or "Don't push it."
Something like that.
In which case, I mean, Salt and Pepper have got to be mad at that. And then lastly, there is a person with scarring on the arms. Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah.
And it says "One of a kind," to which there's probably some other pop star whose song I can't remember that's annoyed.
Probably Ed Sheeran.
He does everything.
Yeah, he does do everything.
Okay, fine.
Apart from the good music.
Yeah, but a lot of people are suing Ed. It'd be nice that he sued the government for once. Give him a chance.
So, being that the disabled community are a difficult bunch to please at the best of times, let's put
Tough crowd.
Yeah, very tough crowd. Needs to say, this has not gone down well. And that's what we'll be covering this week, because there have been a few articles and a couple of heavyweight organisations in the disability sector.
Like Seesaw Podcast.
Like Seesaw. Like Disability Rights UK, as well as there's another one.
Many more.
Disability Persons Organisation, I believe, is one of them.
Are you just going to stop making stuff up?
That's what you call organisations for disabled people. That's the group collective name.
Oh, DPOs, right.
Yeah,
okay. Okay.
Not an actual organisation.
Yeah, you could have jumped in at any time, Selina, and stopped me being a dickhead.
Where's the fun in that?
Okay.
So we're making this a masturbate, right? So I can put that intro in?
Yes.
Yes. You might as well use your intro.
Welcome to Seesaw Masturbates.
Hard topics coming in your ears right now. Okay, so we're masturbating this. We are going to go over what has been said by these organisations, and we'll be putting the seesaw slant on it. Try and put a bit of balance on it. So I think it's worth kicking off with... Yeah, I don't know why I said kicking off, because that's negative. But let's start with... Yeah, you kick off, don't you?
Oh, you mean like angry kick off, not like football game kick off?
Jesus.
Yeah.
You can't, everything's in interpretation these days, isn't it? Ugh.
Much like this campaign. So, to begin with, let's cover why disabled organisations who don't necessarily speak for disabled people, let's see why they're actually getting angry about this.
Well, it's not just disability organisations, it's disability collective community are angry. First of all, they feel like there's a lack of clarity with the ask, don't assume. They feel like that the government are asking strangers to ask intrusive questions to people with disabilities and asking strangers to ask about people's impairments. Discuss.
Yes, it is very much along those sort of lines, isn't it? That it's encouraging attention that might not be wanted by some individuals. Not all individuals. I think it's important to say at this point, this isn't the opinion of every disabled person.
Sounds like it is. I haven't seen any articles that have come out praising the campaign.
No, that's true, but have you looked?
Providing there's absolutely no follow-up questions, yes, I have.
Excellent. This is a really important thing, isn't it? Like, it is putting a bit more attention on disabled people, which has been perceived as a negative thing. I mean, I personally think that some disabled people will be happy with this because they would want people to be able to come and talk to them about things.
I'm going to kick this shit off, and I don't care about using that phrase either. I think it's a good thing.
You want to elaborate?
If someone comes up and asks me either about my disability or about my access needs, I have no problem telling them about it. How else are they going to know?
Do they need to know?
If it looks like I'm struggling to an outside party and they come out and ask, do you need help with anything? Or ask me about my disability, then they're going to know for future, aren't they? And they're going to take that away and they'll know for other people how to approach someone in a similar situation. So I don't really see a problem with it, personally.
So should they be coming up to you and asking you, or if you did require help, why can't you go and ask them for help?
How am I going to know where they are?
Well, just saying, this is some of the thoughts of the disability community. They're saying, don't ask, assume we're okay, unless we tell you otherwise.
I don't think that should be the norm, personally. Yeah. And if someone comes up and asks me if I need any kind of assistance, you know what I can do? I can just go, no, I'm fine, thank you.
That's true.
Oh shit, did someone forget that they can do that?
That's true, and I do that a fair amount. The lack of clarity and what a lot of people are getting angry about is disclosing disability. I have never experienced anyone coming up to me in a shop saying, what's your disability and how can I help you? It's always, do you need some help? So maybe it's a lack of clarity. But
I don't know. I was at work on Wednesday. It was a training day for work, so with loads of colleagues that I'd never met before. The lady sitting next to me asked me directly, how much can you see? So I told her, which I was fine about. She said, okay, good, now I know. She just wanted to, I guess that was her way of asking or wondering how much help I might need throughout the day. But I was fine with her asking that question, because I'm okay with that. I get it.
Would a better question have been, how can I help you today?
It probably would have been, but I'm not going to judge her. At least she was inquisitive and obviously wanting to help me. I saw the positive side of it.
That's not what this argument is about.
Disagree. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's the important thing here, isn't it? Like, that's not what the disabled community are saying.
Would it be more offensive to ask that question if we had a different disability than sight?
I think it comes down to how sensitive you are as an individual.
Mate, this is going to be the overarching thing. I just didn't want to bring it up this early, but there it is.
But I think we can't really proceed without putting that baseline there. It depends how sensitive you are. There are some people out there who are overly sensitive and want to shout and scream and ableism, blah, 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 and they just have to take a chill pill. I mean, we've got a lot more to cover, but that's just going to enable me to embed this message a little bit more. What's taken me aback from this is the language being used by individuals
and organisations.
Yeah, and organisations. And I think that's where I take a lot of umbrage with this, because it's being presented like that's the voice of the entire disability community. And we've covered this before in previous episodes. If you're going to be an advocate, fine, but don't present it like you're the king of the Crips.
Can you say that after that language point?
I can entirely say that because I'm a member of that community. So, journalist and writer Lucy Webster said it was completely misguided.
The entire campaign completely misguided.
Yep.
Strong words, I think. The campaign was developed in partnership with people that were disabled.
Well, do we want to talk about that briefly?
Well, that kind of leads on, doesn't it? Because how can it be really that misguided if it's developed in partnership with disabled people? That campaign, surely, if it's in partnership with disabled people, will be representing at least some disabled people because they worked with them.
I think just to play devil's advocate here, there was no clear identification of numbers of, say, focus groups or who was consulted on this either. Saying it is one thing, but I think if there was, like, we will say at this point, the government have not responded to this at all, to all of these concerns and anger from the disability community. And I think one of those things that they could have done is said, we consulted 2,000 disabled people or some tangible metric.
I don't think they were ready for the backlash, to be quite honest. They weren't prepared for this. They thought they were doing good. And, well, in 10 weeks' time is when the campaign will be reviewed by the government. But until then, the, quotes, misguided campaign will be out there.
I mean, they were never going to please everyone.
They were never going to please anyone because they're the government. And that was the first issue, I think, to starting this campaign. They are the government. And historically, disabled people are not friends with the government. The government could have said, we're going to give everyone in the disabled community £10,000 per week. And they would have come back with, no, we need £10,001 per week. It's not cutting it. They can't believe that the government have put money into this campaign when they should have been putting money probably straight into people's pockets. That's one of their gripes.
Yeah, but jobs will do that as well.
If anything, instead of putting it in the disabled people's pockets, it should have been used on some form of employability fund or grant system for employers to subsidise the wages of disabled people to get them into work.
But how would employers know?
Should have put it in access to work, to be fair.
I was going to say, how would employers be aware of people's potential needs without this campaign?
Because you talk to people.
Should it be our responsibility then to educate?
Well, I'm glad you said that. Because disabled academic Vera Cubans has said it is not disabled people's responsibility to educate wider society.
Whose is it then? Because that was also unclear. The government's trying their best, and that's not good enough. And the people that know about it seem to just be pissing and moaning about the people that have tried. So
I think it absolutely is responsibility. In the same way of any other campaign, big or small, if we're talking LGBT+, trans, Black Lives Matter, it is the responsibility of those individuals to educate the other members of society who are not inclusive of those groups as to the plights and how they can be allies within those spaces. You can't put the responsibility on other people to educate themselves because everyone has things to do. They have work and stuff like that. If you're not actively doing it, I'm going to say it, I'm not going home after work and learning about the trans rights movement over the last 20 years. It's not on my list to do when I get home, but I will happily learn from those around me and I'll take that on board happily and develop my education that way. But I think it's very arrogant to say that it's not the responsibility of disabled people to educate other people.
Surely they're the people that are most informed.
Yeah.
That comment is nuts to me.
Yeah, and this has come from an academic who's studying disability, and I think it's a very close-minded view.
It doesn't, interestingly, say whose responsibility it should be. Even if you break that down to even your friends, right? Let's say you've got friends, and you're a person with a disability. Can you imagine if your friends asked you about it and you went, "Well, it's not my responsibility to tell you. Why don't you fucking Google it?"
Yeah.
Surely, yeah.
Nuts.
Yeah,
that's fucking
Surely
nuts.
you're the one who's going to know better than Google, for example.
Yeah. What I will also say as well, this individual, Vera Cubans, who is condemning this scheme, says that it's not the responsibility of disabled people to educate. So whose responsibility is it? If it's the government, you're already complaining that they're wasting money on a scheme to educate other people.
Well, no, because the government are telling the disabled people to educate the public. That's what they're suggesting.
Okay.
Because they're saying ask the disabled person.
Okay.
So rather than giving out resources or information directly, that they're putting the onus on us.
But they could spend more money on making resources and things like that. But again, who knows better? Probably a disabled person.
And it's a spectrum. No two people with retinitis pigmentosa have the exact same vision or experience. So you need to ask the individual of what their needs are, because you can't assume.
Well,
but but that's the thing, isn't it? They don't want to be asked. Disabled people don't want to be sociable. They don't want to share anything about their personal lives unnecessarily.
Yeah, that is a good point, that your personal life effectively should be your own personal and private life.
But don't complain about access issues then. If you're going to complain about this and say that this isn't what you want, then don't complain when you don't have the help you want when you need it. Like, I'm sorry, but you can't have it both ways. This is more like the overarching thing. Like, there's been no alternative to this presented with with the anger and the articles and stuff like that. It's not been, we don't like this campaign, why not do this? It's just been, we hate this, without any constructive alternative. And that's what I hate about this whole anger fest. I think it's unfair to condemn whilst not bringing alternatives.
The question that was raised in there, that a lot of people were asking intrusive questions about their disability. But again, you don't have to answer them.
No.
You can just say, I'm not really comfortable with that. But,
But then the public might say, but the government said that I should ask. Government said this is the way.
Yeah, but the government also doesn't say that you have to answer every single question as a disabled person, does it? And there are going to be a lot of people that do answer the question, and people will probably be, in a way, thankful for it because they'll learn a little bit more about it. I think more of the problem is when disabled people are reluctant to talk about their problems, because then, firstly, we as a community get this reputation for being sort of hostile towards people that are more able than ourselves. And we just don't want that, to be honest. No. And secondly, it doesn't raise awareness. If you're not physically telling people about it, how are they going to know?
If we move on very slightly, the government messaging wasn't clear, but some of the messaging that came out of disability charities and groups
please tell us.
So this was a tweet that was very quickly retracted by Disability Rights UK.
We do not, in quotation, support the government's ridiculous attempt to purple wash their murderous ableist policies by using some disabled influencers to raise awareness for disability. I mean, that's a knee-jerk reaction, surely. Murderous? I mean, how the fuck is it murderous?
Definitely touched a nerve.
You know what kills me? The fact that everyone's like knocking this government campaign, but it's the first one we've all heard about. And I just think campaigning has to start somewhere, and you're just knocking people for trying. How about being constructive? Because a lot of this is just said it's ridiculous, it's murderous, it's ableist. How about going, well, this is where it could be better? Because I ain't seen any of that.
Like I said, there's been no constructive alternatives at all. It's just condemnation for the sake of it. And the wording, especially in this tweet, I can see why they retracted it. It's very strongly worded. And again, it doesn't speak for all individuals within the disability community. It doesn't. If that's their perception, that's fine. But I didn't perceive this as that. But this is coming from Disability Rights UK, which to the external person, potentially not in the community, will see that as a credible source of voice from the disabled community. And it makes us all look like a bunch of fucking arseholes, which I don't think is fair.
We're getting this reputation for just slamming everything that people are trying. And it gets to the point, where you try something every time it's rejected a billion times. After a while, people are going to go, well, fuck it, I'm just not going to try.
That's it. I think it has the potential to disengage people because they do want to do the right thing. and they want guidance on it. And okay, was the messaging the best from the government? Maybe not, but I didn't see any other charity doing a campaign like this.
If this campaign wasn't done by the government, if this campaign was done by a charity, the response would have been completely different. Amy Kavanagh, she had her own campaign, Just Ask, Don't Grab, which is very similar. Even, go on her Twitter to see, or X or whatever, to see what she says, because she justifies how this is completely different to her campaign and how this is a bad, and where compared to hers, whose is good. But they to me, that's the one I thought of straight away. I really like your one. So they kind of thought, this was doing well. We kind of still that idea, and it's kind of blowing up in their faces.
I mean, it's basically the same, isn't it?
Yeah,
no,
it's called
not
a spade a spade.
It's not what she says.
But if we were writing policy on the individual's opinion, then we'd be in a very shitty situation. I'm not going to say that I'm the biggest fan of the government. I'm in the middle, basically. I think if they're trying to do something, great. I'd be curious to know who they've consulted and how much money they've spent on this, because let's face it, it could be better.
Well, they've had T-shirts printed, so at least 30 quid.
Would you get a T-shirt?
Yeah, £10 a T-shirt, innit? T-shirt and printed.
Would you wear one?
No.
Yeah, but say, don't fuck with me.
So here's something to think about as well. Is this campaign distracting from other things that are going on within the disability community that might be currently in place or being enacted, and the closing of ticket offices? Is this just a false flag to take focus off of the other shit that's happening?
Governments around the world are notorious for that. However, we've not touched on closing ticket offices yet as a podcast, but train lines have apps, mate. I don't feel like I need to say more than that.
We're going to write up an episode.
Yeah. Sorry.
We will cover ticket offices.
Will we?
No, we won't. But train lines do have apps. And those apps are accessible because even I can buy my ticket on the app. So before you go down that route, people.
Even Uber, as an alternative, you can buy your train tickets through Uber now. And their app is very accessible. So there's multiple ways of doing it.
Yeah, but I'd like to walk to a train station and try to find the ticket office.
Why?
Yeah, good point. Moving on. I don't think this campaign was specifically set up to take away from other more pressing issues. I think it was genuinely there to raise awareness of disability. People are starting to do that now. It's becoming more of a thing.
Yeah.
Similarly to like gay rights, which is now a massive thing. And I feel like they've gone down the right route in the terms of making that shit fun. Yeah. Like I can turn up to Pride and have a great time, and I'm not gay.
But they don't segregate people who aren't. It's like, come along, have fun. That's the whole thing. When you have Pride parades, anyone is welcome.
Where's my purple parade, damn it?
You wouldn't be able to have a purple parade because someone will get fucking offended about you not including them, or there's no drop curve or something like that. It's never going to fucking happen.
But this is the kind of things that I'm talking about. We should be presenting disability more in a positive light, and people shouldn't just be fucking going nuts at something when someone's tried something. They should be going, do you know what? That's a good start. Let's build on it.
The poignant question here to anyone who is angry about this and voicing it publicly, what's your end game? You're entitled to your opinion, but unless you're going to be constructive or move things in a positive way using whatever platform you have, what are you achieving by being negative of others who are genuinely trying?
They want ticket offices to stay open.
Well, why? Fuck off.
That's what they hope will come out of this campaign. Be able to the government see the more important issues.
For every ticket office that closed, they could pay one person to hold a seminar on how to use an app. Probably every 6 months.
Yeah, multiple seminars.
That's what I mean. I just think this is really poor for the reputation of disabled people. The backlash of it, I think is really derogatory for the community as a whole.
Been too angry about it rather than articulate about it. I think that's where it's gone wrong.
For a final thought here as well, can I just say, government campaigns don't really have a lot of uptake with the general population. So it's kicking off about something that not a lot of the public would fucking care about anyway. I'm saying this is an important campaign, but I think it has been overestimated the scope of how many people will engage with this outside the disabled community. I mean, we looked on YouTube for the actual adverts, and there aren't any.
Yeah,
Not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet.
Have you
then it
seen the
might be
one
a
on the
social media
government
campaign.
website? There's one on the government website.
Yeah, but who's specifically going to that?
People who do their taxes and not watch things on the government website.
Or people that are angry?
I think that there's a serious overestimation of how much impact these things have anyway.
I think a better campaign was the one that like Channel 4 do when they do the Paralympics and things like that.
Well, that
That's
has
what you
backlash as well. There's like superhero stuff and that.
I know what you're saying, but this is what I mean. People are trying, and you're never going to win because you're always going to get arseholes that just piss and moan rather than come back with, yeah, it's a great start, but this is what we could do better.
I think they're upset because they feel like that they weren't asked. The government didn't ask them personally and just assumed this would be a good idea.
I mean, the government can only ask so many people, though, right?
Well, I think they know now who they should go to.
Well, X as a whole.
Yeah, they should just do hashtag disability Twitter.
Yeah, we should have a little like poll, and we'll just end up with fucking Purple McPurple Face as the fucking campaign slogan.
Unfortunately, the case is that some of the most influential people who call themselves advocates, that's debatable, within the disability space, that they are quite influential, and they are, as we've described in the past, some of the worst examples of advocates, whereas everything is doom and gloom and they can never be pleased. Like, there's very few influential people out there who have the same attitude as us of positivity, essentially, of like, let's just give it a go, let's try and make things better.
Yeah, and they probably think that's because we are living the high life compared to them and not going through the same traumas and everyday difficulties for some reason.
Well, maybe they should ask us and not assume our circumstance or stories.
I think that is interesting, and I think you're right. People do assume that because we're all within work and we all have a certain standing, that at no point have we ever had to face the same trials and tribulations as other disabled people.
I was unemployed for 8 years in my adult life.
Get a job, you bum.
I did.
No, I'm taking the piss, but
like, I've been where they've been, and I've bettered myself.
Oh shit, son! Yeah. Okay.
It wasn't easy. I did it because I wanted my life to mean more. They're just
you're just going to double down on that.
Yeah,
okay.
He's going. He's carrying on.
I'm two-footed on this shit. I'm going two-footed. I'm fucking sick of this. Because I don't want people speaking for me. Because I know this is going to backlash negatively in my life at some point because of pricks that I don't agree with having a larger voice than me on social media. And that's what I resent. Don't speak on behalf of me just because you have a voice.
I'm sort of with you there. I think this whole thing has really perpetuated a negative stereotype of disabled people. And that's really what I don't like or can really get behind. I'm going to be clear. I'm a horrible person, but I'm a horrible person that does genuinely believe that disabled people can do the majority of things that an able person can with the right means. And I don't think we should be pissing and moaning at abled people or even disabled people that are trying to raise awareness in any kind of aspect or format of our particular, I'm going to say plight, but it's not a plight, but do you know what I mean?
Our cause.
Yeah, our cause. I just think we should be supporting them as much as we can. What's with all this negativity? It's ridiculous to me.
Be constructive. If you're going to say something, be constructive about it. You can criticise, but please give alternatives and be constructive with it. Any other final thoughts?
My question is, what would we do to raise awareness for disabled people in a positive way? I
like your Purple Parade idea.
I think this predates you, Selina, because you say you can't take credit for it. Fuck off. I think me and T did an entire episode of positivity within the disabled community, and I think we suggested Purple Parade, didn't we?
Yeah.
Or something of a similar nature.
I have not heard this episode.
How convenient.
Yeah.
I think you guys were just at the pub having a chat about this one day, and it did
That's
not
what
get
Seesaw
recorded.
Podcast is, except we're not at a pub
anymore.
No,
but there's a lot of positivity that can be done. I think there's a lot to learn from the LGBTQIA plus community on how they've done really well. And they still have their plights. I get that. But as far as positive exposure, I think disabled community, we've got to do that.
We could really benefit from that sort of stuff, yeah.
Because they've done a really good job on making it fun and getting out there in a positive way. And that's what the disabled community needs to do. So we need to basically find the PR people who are working on that and get them on disability.
I did hear, actually, there's going to be a disability festival in Birmingham next year.
Good start.
We'll be there.
Let's not poo-poo that, because let's be fair, people will.
People will poo-poo that.
It's a shame it's in Birmingham, and I know I'm poo-pooing it already. But no, it's a great start. Why not start there?
We can even try one in Nottingham. Maybe the Seesaw Festival.
Let's go Purple Parade. It's got more widely based.
Purple Parade, sponsored by Seesaw.
Are you putting up the money for that?
No.
That's what I thought. We can rally around the disabled charities, maybe.
Well, there we go. We've condensed this anger into something potentially a bit more balanced for this mass debate. If you have an opinion on this, and it's actually fucking constructive, please send it to us. Please comment. We might do a mop-up episode, because this is an ongoing thing, and we want to hear your genuine thoughts. Do these people speak for you? How would you raise awareness and positivity? Please let us know at the links coming up.
Do you need to know how to use a train ticket app?
Yes.
Cleaves can teach you.
If you like, please do an episode on how to use an app.
Just ask him.
Don't assume. But until next time, have a cup of tea and chill the fuck out.
I'm a coffee man. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to Seesaw Podcast. Your feedback and comments mean a lot to us, so if you'd like to get in touch, you can do so in the following ways.
You can find us on Twitter at Seesaw Pod, Facebook, Instagram and YouTube at Seesaw Podcast, and you can also join us at seesawpodcast.com.
Remember to like, rate, review and share with a friend.
This podcast was recorded in front of a blind audience.